Joining us today, I don't think they need introduction, but the powerhouse team behind State Bird and the Progress, Stuart Brioza Nicole Krasinski. Welcome to Google. Thanks.
All right, thanks. Awesome. Well, it's nice to be here, for sure. How many of you have actually eaten at State Bird? Oh, good. Like a little less than half. Perfect. We're always looking for more customers.
I think the others just probably couldn't get a reservation more than anything.
Yeah, well, there's that too. And it's a long drive from Sunnyvale.
Well worth it, not a problem.
It is, yeah. Hopefully at the end of this demo that, you'll all be racing and coming up with your own programs to hack into a reservation system and, get yourself a reservation.
Challenge accepted, Googlers.
Yeah, I'm sure in this group, that's actually part of the history of State Bird is that for some of you, you probably already know this because that stuff is important to you. But we were in Australia when we were doing kind of a pop-up in Australia, and I get a call at 3 in the morning from Paolo Lucchesi, who's the writer for the San Francisco Chronicle. And I'm like, wow, he's calling me. It's 3 in the morning. Should I take it? And I took it, and he starts just grilling me about do you know that you've been hacked and that people are, making reservations? And then it grew. It just continued to grow. So Paolo calls me, and, then the BBC calls us, the New York Times calls us, and I'm sort of like, this isn't a big deal, people. I don't see this as a big deal. This is not a problem for us. We're okay that people, it was it becomes a problem when people hack into the reservation system and then they don't show up. Because that's a problem to me, is that, but humans were coming in and they were saying about robots and all this. And I was like, I don't know what you're talking about. All I know is that we're packed every night, and that's a great thing. And it was sort of like, what responsibility do I have in this? And I was like, I have zero responsibility in this.
Stop being so popular?
Yeah, exactly. But I think it spawned off a whole new, I call it the brave new world of running a restaurant, where it's like, okay, I'd never thought about that issue. I deal with dishwashers calling in sick, food
We
purveyor.
Deal with that too.
Yeah,
It makes you feel better.
Okay. Real restaurant issues, a sink that's runny or backs up or something. Never about hacking into a reservation system. Seems totally out of my league. Anyway, today we're gonna demo something that I think is really turned into very much a signature dish at the restaurant, and mainly because it's so unusual.
And delicious.
And very delicious.
I think that goes without saying based on my personal experiences in your restaurants.
The idea of this is it's carrots, and we decided to make a carrot dish, right? I think every chef in the country is kind of challenged with making a carrot dish, something that becomes kind of like part of your roster of dishes. It's just like everybody's got kind of a great fried chicken dish or a great steak dish. You also, as a chef, have to have a great carrot dish. At least it feels that way. So our great carrot dish is to do a kind of a carrot four-way, right? Where we make a mochi out of this. And you probably all had mochi, but you've never had a savory mochi. So and it makes so much sense. And I look at it as mochi, our carrot mochi, is akin and a distant cousin to the potato gnocchi in Italy. So it's really like that. It's that same idea. The beauty of it is that we don't have to we're not using flour, so there's no gluten in it, but we are using a starchy, glutinous rice flour to bind it. It's also got a huge margin for error, where gnocchi are so temperamental, and you've got to have the right starch content in your potato. You've got to have the right balance. Timing is such a critical. These are virtually foolproof. I mean, you can cook your carrot puree the day before and make your mochi the day of, right? So there's not a lot of, there's a big margin for error, which is always nice. I mean, I think even in the home, for home cooking. And it's really awesome with kids. So if you have kids, we have a kid. Of course, he doesn't eat anything like this.
Irony.
But other people's kids seem to really love this dish when they come to the restaurant. As a matter of fact, we tend to, when we go on to visit friends and we're staying with them, their kids will be like, can we make mochi? You know, I mean, they'll ask this, and then I'll teach them, and we'll do a little, like, kind of improv cooking class. So let's kind of get this started. I've taken the liberty of getting my carrots cooked. I'm just going to crank this up. The idea is that I just cook carrots in boiling water, and, you know, organic, the sweetest carrots you can find, just a little salt. So I'm going to bring this up, and they're really tender, and how you gauge that is do they fall apart in your hands? And I don't always encourage people to put your hands in boiling water, but that's what happens when you become a chef. You become immune to these ideas of boiling water. So these are done now, and I'm going to take them and just strain them out in a colander. And I want to intensify the carrot flavor. So this is kind of the trick. We could stop here, and we could just kind of puree these carrots, or we could do what I'm going to do next, which is basically intensify the carrot flavor by putting this back on the stove. Let's make sure these induction burners are, is it going? I think it is, I feel it. Oh yes. I'm going to add carrot juice to this. So fresh carrot juice added to these carrots. And I'm going to kind of do it little by little, so I'm going to like reduce it in, and I'm going to concentrate and basically sweeten up the flavor. The idea is to just get the most flavor, the most carrot flavor into my mochi. Otherwise, they'll just look like orange balls. But if I can get more and infuse more flavor, it's really helpful. Okay, while this is going, I'm going to kind of roast the carrot. So as I said, it's a carrot four-way. And so in a pan with butter, and don't be afraid to use butter. Seriously, you laugh. Don't be. This is why our restaurant is so good. What I'm going to do is I'm going to just throw my carrots right into here. I may not use all of these. Try to find some different sizes. And I'm going to take a couple of garlic cloves, and I like to keep them in the skin. And what I'll do is I just smash them. You can just kind of take a knife, and I just want to crack the skin, and I want to get just a little flavor that comes out, right? And I like to use the skin. There's nothing wrong with the skin. Don't be afraid of the skin. And I'm going to take some rosemary, and I'm just going to throw a couple of sprigs of rosemary in here. Okay, a good crack of pepper. I, of course, like to use a pepper mill. Just kind of makes sense. And then, oops, pardon me, a good pinch of salt. And don't be afraid to use salt either. That's another secret to why our restaurants are so good. Now, you can smell that? Can you guys get that? Okay, so soon enough, you'll get that. And I'm going to turn the heat down because I don't want to roast it too hot. But I do want the butter to brown. And notice I didn't brown my butter first. You don't need to. You can actually brown it in the process of doing it. And I'm just going to assume that that's going to be good, and I'm going to keep that going. Pardon my reach here. And notice that Nicole just keeps adding more carrot juice to the pot, and we keep reducing it, and we're going to make, our goal here is to make like a real tight, concentrated kind of blob of a mass, okay? Blob is a culinary term for anything that sort of moves in blobular motion. Okay, so these take a while to cook. You could roast them in the oven, or you can just do the whole thing on stovetop. And you see how it gets foamy and buttery there? And you see all that? That's the magic that's happening to the carrots, and that's the browning of it. And so now I just want to manage it and kind of keep it going. Okay, cool. Feel free to ask questions as we're going too. I'm sort of not like save your questions to the end.
Yeah, and the
Something
only
just inspires you immediately, just like jolt it out.
The only dorky thing is I have to repeat them for the people who watch it on the live stream later. So yes, Andre.
Do you ever use the pressure cooker method from Modernist Cuisine?
Oh, do you use a pressure cooker method to caramelize?
No, to answer your question, but that doesn't sound like a bad idea for the carrot puree to just, or...
Yeah, it brings out like a nuttier sort of more...
How interesting.
Or for the brown butter.
It's, in situ has it's Nathan Mermel's recipe from Modernist Cuisine.
Yeah. I don't know. I haven't, no. But not that I wouldn't think that's a great idea.
We do use a pressure cooker quite a lot for other things.
That's right, yeah. We do use pressure cookers for kind of extractions, more or less, right? I'll throw a whole fish into it, like whole cod, and I'll make fish stock in a pressure cooker, and it's totally wild and crazy, but it really extracts all the gelatins out of it. We'll do a French onion soup in a pressure cooker, where we caramelize our onions, and then we'll put the onions into a pressure cooker with onion stock, and then we'll turn it on and we'll let it go. And sometimes I'll even I've put Gruyere in the pressure cooker with the onions, and then, so it was pretty cool. I mean, it's some neat things. Yeah, I think that what I like about it is that you don't lose any liquid. You retain everything. So everything that goes in is everything that's coming out too, right? But however, in this case, we want to encourage the reduction because we're concentrating the sugars and the sweet flavors in it. But good question. Cool. Those books are just way too big. You made it to, yeah. They're impressive.
It's a lifelong journey through modernist cuisine. They came out with modernist baking. Now I've tacked on many years to my life to get through that one.
All right. So, we're almost there on this, making a totally great blob. And as it just gets tightened up there, you can really smell the concentration of carrots, and you're just getting such a nice flavor there. Other mochis that we've done as well. I think color plays an important role. So we did a caramelized onion and rosemary mochi that tasted great, but it didn't look so beautiful. But there's other things that we've done that have had great success. So like a pumpkin or a squash mochi, winter squash, where you roast and you get that bright, vivid color. And then when you mix in the flour, the mochi flour, it works the same way. And when you cook them, they look just like the same color of a pumpkin. So this recipe is totally transferable to other things, as many things as you want to kind of try. I would totally encourage you to make the carrot version first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this, and you can see how it's really tight. It's
globular,
really
if you will.
Glob with texture. And I'm going to, let's see here. I think I'm done with this one. I'm just going to puree it. I don't want to get it. I like the texture of carrot in there, so it's not imperative that it's very smooth. But it's okay if it's very smooth. But I kind of think like the texture of rice, maybe the coarseness of broken rice is a good way to think about it. Okay. Cool. And now what I'm going to do, the most important steps here is I am going to weigh it out. And so basically do. And you can make, I mean, there is a recipe, and it tells you how much to use, of course, because that's what recipe books do. But basically, we like to work in ratios, right? And so I've got this nice carrot puree, and I'm getting 500, and I know I brought a pound of mochi flour. So I start with 1-to-1 ratio. I usually end up adding a little bit more, so there's 454 grams. I'll just go 400 to give myself a little. And again, this can totally, it's whatever you want to make. I mean, we make this in 2,500 gram batches is kind of the idea. And then what I'll do is I've got about 400 grams right here, and I'll add another 400 grams or so of mochi flour. And that'll be my starting point. Perfect. And being that I'm adding a lot of flour, just a nice pinch of salt into there.
2,500 would be one dim sum wrap?
Yeah. Boy, 2,500. So that's about 5 pounds of mochi, right? Well, we're making 2 pounds of mochi. It would last us about a night's worth of service, right? This is one of our most popular dishes, for sure. Outside of the quail, of course, but people just love this dish. It's a hard one for us to take off now because it's so unusual, and it's kind of like it's just a slam dunk every day. People eat it, and nobody's like, oh, whoa, that's a weird texture. They're eating it and going like, wow, I never thought carrots could actually taste so good, and this is really unusual, and it's sort of, it's that thing that's like, it's familiar, but it's different, and that's one of the kind of the philosophies of State Bird is that we try to work within the familiar, but we want to do something that's just a little different, right? You know, we do a fried quail in lieu of doing fried chicken, but the idea was inspired from fried chicken, of course, right? We make mochi instead of gnocchi, right? We do
Ice cream sandwiches that aren't ice cream.
Ice cream sandwiches that aren't ice cream. But they are, but they're not, but they are, but they're not. That's an argument that we continue to have. We do things like, we do traditional, this is one of my favorite dishes, and it's in the book, is we do an amatriciana. Do you guys know amatriciana? Anyone? You're nodding your head. I'm going to put you on the spot. What is it?
Tomato, sometimes onion, and guanciale.
You got it. Yeah. So it's a Roman dish. It's a Roman pasta dish that's made with guanciale, which is cured pork jowl, right? And so it's got a lot of pepper to it, and it's like pancetta, but it's using this portion of the pork. It is magic, and it's one of my all-time favorite dishes ever to be made in the world. And it's really kind of a nice tomato sauce. You start off rendering out your guanciale. You add your tomato sauce, and you add rigatoni, and you add lots of pecorino and black pepper, and that's the dish. Well, we do something completely, we riff off of that, and we take guanciale, we render it out, we add a little garlic and some chilies, we add a little chanterelle to it, we add fresh tomato sauce from fresh heirloom tomatoes. So this is something we only do in the summer. And then we use tofu skin, yuba, as our noodles for this. So we totally spin it on its ear, because I think anyone's Italian grandmother would beat me to a pulp with a wooden spoon in the kitchen if I knew that I was using, you know, I mean, first, if I was using fresh tomatoes in a matriciana, you know, and something beyond just rigatoni, but the fact that it's tofu skin, but it's magic. And when you eat the dish, it tastes like an amatriciana, but it's familiar but different. And so that is what we do. So what I'm looking for here in my dough is just something about this. Consistency. It's a little tight. It's also a little tacky to it, but it can hold its shape, not unlike Play-Doh, right? But there is a nice tackiness to it. And so for this, what we would do is we'd make balls. And so I'm going to have Nicole make some little mochi balls there.
What other dishes?
I'm going to really put myself to the test because I generally always have a pot of water going and I do my little tester. But I'm so confident today that I don't need to do a tester.
Living dangerously, I like it.
Yeah, that's something in the kitchens. It's like if we make a sausage or a dough or anything of that sort, we always make a tester. We just want to make sure that the seasoning's right, that the texture is right. And so if any adjustments need to be made, it's not after you've portioned 150 balls and you have to put them back in and remake it. So while that's going, I'm going to turn the heat back on this. Okay, and you see our carrots are just kind of moving away, and they're gorgeous, right? Not quite there yet, so we'll just let them kind of finish. I'm going to turn that heat up. The next step in our process here, oh, you know what? I used my bowl here. Let's see if I can do this.
I'm certain we have another bowl for you.
Are you sure?
Positive.
Okay,
it's literally right here.
Okay.
Thank you, Jared.
Thank you. Okay, so the next step is going to be to make, we've got this is the third component, is going to be our vinaigrette. And so because we've got roasted carrots, we've got pickled carrots, which I'll go into in just a minute, and then we've got the carrot mochi. We want to reintroduce another fresh component into it. So this is just fresh carrot juice that becomes the basis of our carrot vinaigrette. Into that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add fresh lime. Okay. I like to kind of massage my lime up a little bit. And I'm just going to squeeze lime juice into this. I'm going purely by taste here, you guys. I feel pretty confident that I've got that part nailed. And, you know, I'm just going to juice, you know, a carrot or so. Or, I'm sorry, a lime. The next, the microplane comes in handy. This is going to blow your minds. So I think that microplanes are about the best tool ever to be created in the kitchen. And I'll show you why. Because it can replace everything you own. All right, so I use a microplane to grate ginger. And I feel that what I get out of it is I get a great disbursement of ginger flavor, right? You can see it underneath there. And it really takes it down to such a ground mass that it works great. I use a microplane to grate garlic. And I'll take a clove of garlic, and I don't use a lot. A little garlic goes a long way, so you can always add more. This is the mind-blowing part. I use a microplane to grate fresh chilies. And so it comes with a nice sound, too. Like you're actually grating something. And you never know how spicy your chilies are. Ooh. So I'll add a little bit of ground chili into it. The chili thing really blows my mind. I love doing
Never
this.
seen that before.
Yeah, see?
Stealing that.
What we're going to do is we're going to add just a little fresh black pepper, pinch of salt to this, and then we're going to kind of make an oil slick of extra virgin olive oil, stir this whole thing around. And now we've got this like super vibrant carrot vinaigrette. We taste everything. I think it needs more acid. The garlic is amazing. The ginger comes through. I'm getting a little heat. I think I kind of want a little more heat in there. But this is how we do it, right? You know, you constantly are tasting for what you want. I'm going to put a little more ginger in there. Ginger and carrot is just one of the magical combinations, as you probably know already. A little more ginger, a little more jalapeno. What I love about the jalapeno by doing this is that you really don't get the seeds. Let's go fresh spoon. There it is. So what I'm looking for there is I want to taste the carrot juice, but I want to taste all of the other ingredients, the garlic, the ginger, the jalapeno. I want to have a nice little kind of slick of olive oil that kind of adds the fat to it. And I also want to just make sure that the lime, the acid and salt is really balanced, right? Not one should overpower the other. And that's how we do that. Cool, so these carrots are just, they're doing really well. And I'm running out of stove space here. But we're gonna just take it really quick. So the last part of this dish, now we've got our carrot juice vin. We're gonna make the dukkha. And dukkha is just kind of it's a cumin-based kind of spice blend that we can use in the mortar and pestle. And we do a pistachio dukkha. We want that nuttiness from the pistachios. So here I'm gonna let these guys do is turn it up really well. This is so good. I love carrots when they're just slow cooked in butter like this. You see what's happening? I mean, just like magic over time is just happening.
Is that camera pointed to the stove?
I don't know. Can you see? No? Okay. Well.
You'd have to hold over the cutting board.
Oh, the camera is not there? What
It's
was
right
that?
there.
It's that one.
So it's right over where you're, yeah, right there. No, down,
you guys see?
Down a little bit, down a little
Okay.
bit, down a little bit. Ta-da!
Oh, there it is. Oh, I see it. Okay, can you guys see that? Yeah, that's gorgeous. Wonderful. Well, now that we got that part out of the way.
AVN's is well aware.
Cool. All right. I'm going to pull that off, and they're going to just continue to simmer there. Meanwhile, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add everything here. Whole coriander seeds, cumin. I'm going to add sesame to this mix. I've already pre-toasted my pistachios. I've got chili flakes, and I've got sea salt. I do not want to toast my chili flakes. If I did, all of you out there would start sneezing and have eye irritation. But I'll work over a nice high heat and bring this up. And as soon as I can kind of see little wisps of smoke is where I know it's done, and I'm going to place it right into the mortar and pestle.
What other dishes do you find you cannot take off your menu?
Oh, well,
Aside from the state bird, of course.
Pork belly.
Yeah, that pork belly.
yeah.
Fried pork belly, citrus, fish sauce vin.
Yep.
Some people have it for dessert.
Next time.
Next time. The garlic bread with burrata.
Ooh, that one was
See,
transformative.
you guys just did it.
Yeah.
That's why we can't take it off right there. We've got that dialed out. We sell about 70 of those a night.
Yeah.
And we serve about 200 people a night. So kind of.
Good.
That's
yeah.
one that comes by when too late in the meal, and you're like, but I ate so much, but I have to eat the garlic bread.
So the burrata that we use is from kind of one of the original burrata makers in the U.S., and they're down in L.A. It's Joya is the name. Yeah. I asked him once, I was like, so what's your process? And he was like, seriously? It's the one thing I make, and I'm going to give you my secrets?
Hey, you've got a question here. Oh, what are some dishes you wish you could that you... do you constrain yourself? Sky's the limit?
Not at all.
That's why we have a second restaurant.
Yeah. There you go. There aren't really any dishes that we wish we could, because State Bird is based around and it's built around kind of cook what you want and the freedom of cooking. The one thing that I always say about our food there is it has to be shareable. So I wouldn't put like a steak on a plate and serve it, right? It's shareable, but there's, we got to we keep people moving, right? We keep that evening, the dinner service moving, and we want to make sure that it is as user friendly as possible. All of our food, when we think about that, right?
Yeah,
like how can I get more food on your table is what I think about, and you think about how can I get more food in my stomach, right? So we're it's a team effort, right? And it's symbiotic. Okay, so do you see these little wisps of smoke? And you can see that as I'm.
There you go.
Hey!
Yeah, I got it. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm just bringing those flavors out. Now, some of you can smell that. Just wait. Let's put that back on. I'm going to add some sea salt to this. Nice pinch. I'm going to add my chili flakes because I do kind of want them to have a little intensity there. I'm going to add some pistachios to this mix. Okay, and now I hope this works.
Will you guys share a little bit about the inspiration for the restaurant in the first place? It's so unique.
It's a long story.
It's a beautiful story.
Yeah,
It's in the book, but short version?
Sure.
Inspiration, drivers?
Yeah, we never intended to open State Bird, so we had written a business plan. We had raised money for what is now the Progress and had found a space. We're ready to go, and the space fell through. So we were like, well, shit, now we really, and we found out also we were having a baby, so we really felt like we needed to get jobs quickly. So we had been focusing on one neighborhood in San Francisco, and we told our broker, just look everywhere. Look in all the places we never wanted to look before. And a week after our son was born, she was like, well, I have this place on Fillmore, which I know you don't like, but I think you should go look at it. So Stuart...
Across from the Panda Express.
That's right, across from the Panda Express in the Safeway parking lot.
And a Subway.
Western edition, y'all.
Stuart rode his bike down there
this,
and...
by the way?
Walked into this dark purple, grease trap smelling, not very beautiful, tiny space. The whole building was vacant, 10,000 square feet. And then the landlord took him into this space that's now the Progress with the huge arching ceilings from the old movie theater that was built in 1911. And we were like, this is where we want to be. You could be anywhere in the city. You don't see anything outside those windows, but you have skylights and just... It was the restaurant we wanted, but it would cost a lot and take a lot of time because it had never been a restaurant. So,
and we needed to make money because we had a kid now, and we were running out of time.
Yeah. So we went back that night and said to each other, "What if we take both spaces?" And the landlord was thinking the same thing at that same time. So we signed 2 leases at once, but then had to come up with a new business plan and a whole new concept. So in a few weeks, we sort of visualized State Bird, thinking that it would be just a really fast thing to open, and then we could move on to the dream restaurant. And then things unraveled differently.
Funny how that works, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And so State Bird, we literally winged it.
That's my kind of joke. Yeah, why American dim sum? Which PS is the best idea ever?
Yeah. In the early days, we used to get that, people would say, God, why didn't I think of this?
And nobody has really ripped it off, which is surprising.
It's actually,
people have tried.
There's been a little bit of, some people who have adopted certain ways, right? And I think that's kind of more the interesting idea. Rather than ripping it off, it's actually a lot harder than people think. Mm-hmm. And those who have tried to rip it off, have had a very tough go of it.
Well, serves them right.
And that's okay. I mean, I think that, it's okay to have multiple of restaurants, but it's also really nice and reassuring what we do works because we've really made it work. The idea of it came about is during the time that we were looking to open a restaurant, we did a lot of private kind of catering gigs, right? And they were really by word of mouth. We were caterers out of our little 900 square foot apartment in San Francisco. And we started to get a lot of requests for people who wanted to have an informal dinner party, but still like really creative food and lots of fun, and nobody wants to sit down. So just like a cocktail party, right? And kitchens, you know, nice home kitchens that had a nice little island. And it would be kind of a walk-around event, right? And so rather than just doing an hors d'oeuvre party, these became like 11, 12 to 15 item hors d'oeuvre parties, right? So almost like a coursed out dinner. And one of the events, we even hired a friend who was a sommelier at Gary Danko, and he went around and he'd just be splashing people with wine all night and talking about the wine and the food, and it was super cool. We had a great time doing this, and we were able to take a little more risks because, you know, 12, you know, when you're serving 3 or 4 dishes, everybody wants kind of like the safe items, right? The things that are going to be popular, like garlic bread with burrata or crab cakes, or, you know, but this particular party that really, we sort of took it to the next level was we were serving lamb tongue on toast and doing things that were like, well, we built that relationship through the other safer items, and people would come back and I'd say, well, it's pickled lamb. And you know, some people I would tell them it was tongue, and others I would say it was just lamb. And but it looked good. It looked beautiful on the plate. And we eat first with our eyes. And I was able to talk people into eating food, and the buy-in was small, right? 1 bite. So you know, you got to think about real estate. And so we applied that same idea, and it really matched the idea as chefs at the time that we wanted to kind of create a restaurant where we could cook what we want and have lots of freedom and flexibility, and not necessarily have a specific regional calling, right? We're not a Northern Italian restaurant. We're not a Chinese restaurant. We're not a, we've always been challenged. And I think a lot of American chefs are challenged thoroughly by how to define themselves as chefs, right? Like, well, what is it? When people ask me, like, what is it, the food you cook? It's really tough, you know? Well, I do this American dim sum. It's like California cuisine. And, you know, really, you look at our menu and you look at the demographics of the Bay Area, and it's, you know, a lot of Asian influence and a lot of, you know, Mexican influence, and kind of like some thorough like American ingenuity with some European. So it's a little bit of everything. And what I like to actually call that cuisine is this evolved California cuisine, right? Where we're in a state of evolution and evolving what California cuisine really is to the people who live here. And of course, we're born and raised in this area, so we have a pretty good understanding of it. But to answer your question, we were doing this kind of thing, and it just sort of, we looked at the kitchen that was in the front of the restaurant, and I kind of thought about like ducks hanging in the window, and I was like, wow, you got cooks right there like preparing the food, and you enter, and the first thing you're doing is you're entering through the kitchen. It feels that way because the kitchen's right there and the dining room's in the back. And it all kind of just made sense, and we just put the pieces together. And that's it. Yeah. Yeah, it's you know, it's really turned out to be not just a. People would say, "Oh, great concept," and I was like, "What are you talking about, man? This is my restaurant. This is not a concept. You know, this is our heart and soul, and our passion and our love for cooking and teaching and interacting with people. Mm-hmm. The people who are coming in to have an experience that was different than other restaurants. We looked at it that we're all one world in the kitchen, right? We get to talk to the guests, and the guests get to talk. I mean, you know that feeling you get when you're sitting at a counter and you're watching the sushi chefs preparing, and you're talking, and you know, you create this rapport. And so it was really imperative to have that for us. We wanted to know the people we were cooking for too. We want to have that relationship. We want to not have it be like dining room, kitchen, separation, right? We talk about that all the time, front of the house, back of the house. Well, it applies to diners as well. So anyway, that's kind of it. And it really gave us the ability to do whatever we wanted in the kitchen. As long as it tastes good, looks good, it works. So that's it. All right. I say let's put this dish together. So our carrots are nice and soft, and you can see that just in their shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw some butter into the pan. And at the same time, let's drop, do you want to drop about 10 of those into the simmering water that's been salted? You guys saw me do that. Oh, I'm going to take a couple of these carrots. We can leave them whole, but I'm going to cut them up just a little bit. Oh yeah, these are perfect. And then I'm going to take some pickled carrots. And the pickled carrots are just a baby carrot that we pickle, and the recipe's included, but it's a vinegar pickle. So this is not a fermented pickle. And what we like to do is shave them really thin. You can use a knife for that, or a mandolin. But if you got the knife skills, apply it.
And a sharp knife.
That's what I say. And so the idea of having a pickle in a dish like this really makes a lot of sense. It adds nice texture, contrast. It also adds a nice, refreshing, acidic balance to it. Pull a couple of different colors here. We do sweeten the vinegar. So we use, for this one, is rice vinegar. And we use salt and a little sugar and some spices as well into it. And we pickle them whole. And then every day we'll cut them. You know, we'll take them out of a big pickle crock. And we'll cut them just as I'm doing it right now. So you get this other, you know, I think part of it is showcasing carrots in different forms, right? Whole form, juiced form, you know, prepared form, and then kind of rounds, pickled where we cut in rounds. So you get a real good kind of an environmental scape of the carrots, right? If that makes sense.
Why vinegar instead of lacto?
Because we didn't want that lacto-fermented flavor to it. So we do a ton of lacto-fermenting at the restaurant, whether it's sauerkrauts or kimchi's or, you know, we'll do a dill carrot, right? Dill pickles, and we do that. But it does, this one we wanted it to be sweeter, and we wanted the vinegar flavor, which of course is its own scent of taking it. Yeah, we wanted a brightness to it without quite the salt, if that makes sense. Cool. So these guys are done when they float. And if you can see, which you can't, can we get one of those moving orbs? They're not floating yet. Yeah. So just like a gnocchi or any kind of dumpling, is that we would take it and, okay, boil. And what I've done here is I'm browning my butter. This time I want my butter brown when I add my dumplings to it. So the idea of browning butter is that it pulls out a nuttiness out of the butter, right? How you know it's brown is when it stops crackling, right? So all the milk solids have cooked and tightened up and cooked out, and then you'll start to see like little particles, which is those browning, and that's how you get the brown butter. And I have it on a nice low temp, so I can hold this for a minute here.
Other questions while we wait for the gnocchi to float? Mochi to float? Yeah? Why did you keep the peel on the garlic?
That's a good question. You know, it acts as like a little shield, and the garlic doesn't brown too fast. Right? It's browned in a nice way, a way that I actually love eating garlic right there. But it acts as like a little shield, a barrier. So if you add the raw garlic to the pan, you're still getting the same qualities of it. But when I'm slow cooking or long cooking, I want that garlic to not get bitter, and I want it to caramelize slowly. So that little barrier is really important. Cool. Anyone else? No?
You can do this step and then chill them and cook them later, right?
So great. This is another part of that great margin for error, and also from an entertaining perspective, and something that the team here at Google has done is that you take them to this, and you can actually cook them, boil them, and then refresh them under cold water, rub them in a little oil, and put them in the fridge for later. And then when you're ready to go, you can take them right out of the fridge and put them into your pan with brown butter and just kind of slowly cook them and reheat them. So that's another great thing is that you can do a lot of this ahead. And so now that these guys are floating, you can see they just kind of come up like any dumpling. I like to think these are like our carrot matsu balls, right? I'll just take a slotted spoon and I'm just going to place them right in. And like the carrots, I love all that brown butter. Okay, so I'm going to add a little salt, a good crack of pepper to it. And what I'm trying to do is I want to brown these off a little bit. They look so good. We'll go on high. Yeah.
What are you serving for Super Bowl Sunday?
That's a good question. You know, every year the kitchens, they team up. They should go opposites, I guess. But they do team up. When we got between State Bird and the Progress, and they do a huge Super Bowl Sunday spread. It's kind of insane.
But for family meal.
But for family meal, yeah. We do it. We don't, you know, yeah.
Our menus don't change, but our staff, they have fun. They make like chicken wings and...
Yeah, we'll start seeing like Thursday and Friday, I'll start seeing the wings come in, and, you know, and we're pretty lean, you know, like really want them to cook well and do fun things too. And so they do a kind of an insane spread. Like all the holidays and all the specialty cooking days, like the kitchens go insane. And they're kind of the best days to be working. I think people come in on their days off, actually, just to come in and eat. Yeah, so we do the classics: wings, blue cheese, lots of chip and dip. Okay, so I'm reintroducing the carrots back into this, and I've really browned that nicely. And then, let's see here. I'm going to use an unslotted spoon. And really, I'm just looking for like a little color. The more color you get on these, and you can see, like, look at their buoyancy there. You know, they really hold up nicely. Can you see that? Here, back to the camera. Okay. So you can see this like buoyancy.
Yeah, they're really bouncy.
Yeah, they got a good bounciness to them. Okay, and right about this point, I'm going to spoon a few of these right into a bowl. Some of my carrots.
What kind of butter do you use?
I use just a very plain unsalted butter, you know. And that's it. We work with a local dairy, so
out of Petaluma.
Out of Petaluma, and but that's our goal with butter is just plain unsalted butter. You can always add salt. It's just kind of the cleanest version, right? And then I'm going to put a little bit of this butter right over the top. Don't be afraid of butter. We talked about that already.
The air is thick with butter scent in the room at this moment.
Yeah, it smells
glorious.
Really good. Okay, so I'm going to take some gorgeous herbs. So things that are very complementary to carrot is mint, dill. We have a little bit of wood sorrel. You may see this around. It's in season and it's wild. Let's see here. First, I'm going to take a little bit of this Pistachio Dukkha and I'm going to give a nice dusting to it. Then I'm going to add some of my pickled carrots all over. Of course, we want to show off the colors, so there is kind of a better... So I sort of smother it in pickled carrots. And then I'm going to add some of my herbs, which is the mint, a little... there's red vein sorrel, dill, as I said. And then I'm going to finish the dish up. And I'm going to spoon over the carrot juice vinaigrette. And I kind of want enough of the vinaigrette that it's like a sauce in the bottom, so where I can see it. And that's about it.
It's gorgeous.
There you go. Can we... That's good. Cool. Yeah, it looks good, right?
Yeah, it's
You
amazing.
guys in the front, hold back.
It looks and smells amazing. I know that our team is working on some delicious tastes for you all. Are there more questions while we wait?
Yeah.
What?
What sort of exciting future projects do you have?
Ooh, what's coming? What's future projects do you have? Inside scoop, inside scoop.
We were actually talking about that on the drive here.
Yeah.
It's a good time to meet in the car.
Yeah.
There's no distraction.
It's an interesting question, and it's not easy to answer because I don't totally have the answer, and my mind doesn't really, it's relentless in sort of the ideas that I want to do. But I'm also like really about trying to build the most solid company that we can that's got incredible culture. And State Bird started as 14 employees, including Nicole and I. And, you know, we now with the progress, we're up to about just under 100 employees. Both restaurants have about 50 employees each. And, you know, that's in a restaurant world, it's a lot to see and oversee. And State Bird is now 6 years old and Progress is 3. And we're about ready to start thinking about that next project. I've been pushing back, and we've had lots of really wonderful offers, things, you know, take State Bird to New York, take it to Vegas, LA, Tokyo, and I'm like, it sounds awesome, and it's kind of like the dream when people start coming to you with real ideas and real dreams. You're like, yeah, I've been dreaming of this moment my entire career, and then you're like, whoa, back up. You know, it's actually like it's not as easy as that. And we have a lot of complexity built into our restaurants. You know, we have a farm that is biodynamic. We grow all these little greens and a lot of the carrots and things that you see in this dish. And that's been an amazing project. So we've been able to kind of, rather than grow up, we've been able to kind of add and kind of grow wide and create a lot of really interesting pieces that add value to what we do every day. And that has been probably the biggest source of inspiration to continue to add and create this kind of mega ship of this culinary building, because we're all under one roof. Within that project, we have a whole fermentation program, I suppose. We do a lot of charcuterie. We do whole animal butchery. These things get done in our commissary kitchen, which is just above State Bird and the Progress. And we can take a whole pig, and certain pieces go to State Bird, certain go to the Progress. So we've got this really amazing kind of cat's cradle, you know, of a matrix inside our own building where things are used. This is one that we just launched with the Cookbook, is State Bird Seed. It's a partnership with some very intelligent food scientists and restaurant people, food people who were all born out of really high quality restaurants. Places like the French Laundry, Momofuku, Single Thread up in Healdsburg. So this is their first project under the Render brand, where it's a chef to shelf kind of thing. And so we're really focused on this. We're actually hoping to see it here at Google,
yes,
for example.
I'm going to try to get it into the MKs. Absolutely.
Putting a lot of pressure. It's
no, not pressure.
It's not meant to be that. It's
Excitement.
really delicious, and it's something we make, and there's recipes for it.
But it is something you can
cookbook.
buy now online. Good Eggs, you can order through Good Eggs. Molly Stone's, Rainbow and Buy Right, both in the city have it. So there's 3 flavors. We only have 2 up here, but yeah, it's really.
I'm going to start working on it
snackable.
as soon as I get back.
So
From
that's I guess that's it right now. The other ideas are, I got to keep them, you know, people start talking, and, you know, it's really, I got to keep it under wraps until I, you know, until
the press
we're ready
gets wind.
to
Yeah.
unveil.
Yeah.
You know, Yes.
Have you received blowback about like the not authentic dim sum, cultural appropriation perspective?
I think like any restaurant and any sort of public entity, you know, you're gonna get believers and non-believers, and I think we've had a good mix of that for sure.
In the beginning, probably the first 18 months, there was a lot more skepticism, and people didn't quite understand why we were doing it and what we were doing. But once the ball was rolling and we were more publicly in the press and kind of people understood what the goal and the intention was, we haven't really had anything.
Yeah,
any issues.
And ironically, you know, we never actually called ourselves a dim sum restaurant. In the early days, we more kind of akin to tapas and, you know, small plates, and the idea of kind of doing, like, realizing that we're not dim sum. I mean, first we're serving dinner, right? I mean, that completely, you know, challenges the whole notion of dim sum, which is a daytime activity, and it's food that's prepared for, you know, tea service and whatnot. But we actually have never called ourselves. It's gotten to that point where other people have, and we just go with it now because it's like, why fight it, right? That was about a year into it. You know, I think that, you know, when we looked at the idea of dim sum was one function of small plates. And if you look at Japanese izakaya, right? Spanish tapas, right? Korean, like banchan, all the banchan that's on plates. You look at mezz. You look at, in Italy, there's kind of this afternoon wine and snack kind of, I can't remember the name right now. Huh? Thank you. That's it. And
thank you, Chef.
You know, we looked at that and we're like, we're kind of a culmination of all these. The French hors d'oeuvre party, right? Just passing hors d'oeuvres, canapes. We're a little bit of all of those things. And we looked at kind of the Chinese dim sum model as just purely an efficiency model of being able to deliver food quickly on carts and trays. We use a lot of trays, actually more trays than carts, but we've over time have incorporated more of our carts, and we've redone our carts now, and we do smaller carts that can do, I can have oysters out, and I can have, you know, a big clay pot of pork ribs or chip and dip. So there's a little bit of tableside activity as well, but we really look at it, you know, I mean, the French have the same type of cart, right? It's called a guéridon, and that's where your cheese is, you know, rolled up to your table, cheese or bananas Foster, right? Like some of the tableside preparations, or Caesar salad done tableside. So, you know, we looked at all of these ideas and kind of took what we thought were the best parts and turned it to the dining room and said, how can we service the people best, right? We know that tapas don't work in this country. It takes an entire country and a culture of people that are raised from the wee age, right, 3 to 5 years old, going and having a little glass of wine and moving from tapas place to tapas place, because they all have their little specialties, and the food's in the window there, and you just kind of grab and eat, right? But when tapas was kind of brought to the U.S., it was like the coolest thing ever, until nobody realized that there was a how do you deliver food? How do you know it's enough food for the table? How do you know you know, a lot of chefs were taking an entree and basically putting it through like the shrinker machine and charging 2/3 of what the entree costs, but giving you half as much, right? There was a lot of problems with it, and there was no way of, I guess, how do you break it down to the lowest common denominator so that everybody can understand what they're doing? And so we took that tapas and put it on wheels, and basically, here, are you interested? Cool, $6, done. Move on to the next. You can see the portion size. I can sell a lot of weird food if I want to, right? I can sell things that are like, people are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. Like, you're speaking a different language, but they see it and it's beautiful, right? And like, they'll take it. We eat first with our eyes. So we basically took the functionality of all of that and took a type of cuisine that everybody loves to eat small plates, right? I mean, I hear it all the time. Like, I prefer to eat lots of little dishes versus like an entree. I mean, that
Everybody
is
wants
like,
more stuff.
you're all
Yeah.
shaking your head. You're all agreeing with me. I mean, shaking in agreeal here.
All
'Cause
of
you
the
like
things.
to that, right?
Yeah, of
I
course.
mean, you know, Korean food is amazing because they bring out and kind of slaughter you with kimchis and tofus and cucumbers and sesame oil and mung bean sprouts, and you're getting all your little things and you're tasting, and you know, it's like you like all the diversity of flavors. Well, we just took that same idea and applied a little, you know, what I'd like to call a little American ingenuity to it to make it work for the American diner, right? Because tapas doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. I'm confused too. I end up, is that enough food? And you got to ask your waiter, and you know, you got to have this dialogue where kind of you just want to do it yourself and figure it out, right? Where you're in control.
So fantastic. We are about to run out of time for our amazing live stream audience. I know we have one more question here in the audience, which we can take as soon as the cameras wrap, but I want to thank you officially for our full audience online and here. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you'll come back and see us again.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having us.
Ah.